Welcome to Smut and Sensibility,
a podcast for romance readers and romance writers.
By romance readers and writers.
We are Amber,
Allie,
and Marie,
a group of learned ladies who love talking about the romance genre.
In this podcast, we will talk about our favorite books, writing craft, and how we make room for a creative life in real time.
So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome back, everyone, to Smut and Sensibility, a podcast for romance readers and writers by romance readers and writers. I'm Amber. I'm a corporate attorney by day and a romance reader and writer by night.
And I'm Allie, a doctorate writer, and I am studying history part-time at Oxford. Welcome back, Amber. How are you? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm excited for our little book Nook today because we already did the first book, but we're doing Steal Like an Artist today by Austin Kleon.
Yes.
And this is just going to be so delightful and a nice little companion to his other little book, Show Your Work, that we already did.
Yes. Yeah, I think not to like spoil, but I think these are like really fun, really quick, inspirational, like, you know, maybe something you read every year just to kind of get, if you're feeling creatively depleted or you're feeling like, what is the point of everything? Which is easy to feel like that right now. Yeah.
Yes. What? No.
What?
Everything isn't great.
What utopia are you living in? But yeah, so I think I would like to go ahead and get started today. Because I know,
Allie, did you bring us? I'm so excited. Allie brought us tea time today.
I did.
But before we dive in, what are you having for tea time for your beverage?
I am having literal tea.
Samesies, and we didn't even coordinate.
Gosh. Yes, I'm having my favorite blend, which is pumpkin spice breakfast cake from Magic Hour Tea. It is super vanilla-y and cinnamony, clovey. Like it's a really delicious spiced black tea, and having a little hot tea latte. So, what about you?
Well, as someone who's had that tea, because you delightfully shared it with me when we were in person last time, it is so good. And that tea company, when you go to their website, is just so aesthetically pleasing. It is
so aesthetic, like it's violet glass apothecary jars.
Yes,
like, gorgeous. They look so good on display in the kitchen.
I'm like a marketer's dream for that because I'm just like, I want everything. I need to be careful going to that website. Today, I am doing Eaten Mess. It's by Bird and Blood, and this is actually delightfully from you. This is my May package. You're so cute. I'm already on like my third or fourth cup of coffee because I burned the midnight oil last night working for my day job at night, because that's sometimes what you just have to do when you're trying to do all the things all the time. So I was like, I think I should have something without caffeine. This is smashed strawberries, sweet crumbly meringue, and cream. And she's delightful. I just added a little honey. And we talk about this cute little mug. It's got like books and a cat. It's like a bookshelf with knickknacks. And do you see that? What's that? Crow baby.
A little crow. I love it. I love it.
So now that we've shared what we're having for tea, it's time to spill. Allie, spill the tea.
Okay, so it was my job this week to kind of hunt around the interwebs. No corner of the internet is safe from me when I'm sleeping.
It's true. You are a very good internet sleuth. I do have to say.
So I was like making my way over to Publishers Weekly to kind of see what's the vibe, what's going on.
Yeah,
and
keeping your finger on the pulse.
Yeah. And this article was from earlier in May by Jen Milliot, and it is HarperCollins has, quote, heated quarter. So obviously I was like, must click into this because we are big heated rivalry fans.
Big.
Books and TV adaptation on the pod. So I was like, yes, like let's give Rachel Reed
your
her flowers.
Clickbait is working.
Clickbait is absolutely working. Yes, exactly. This article, though, the composition of it was very interesting because it started out where I was like, yes, this is cool and exciting, to being like, what do you mean, to them being like, this is not new news and it keeps getting worse. So we start out on a high note with heated rivalry. And I guess in Q1, they basically had an 8% boost to sales to HarperCollins, at large at the end of the quarter. So like end of March. And they had increased sales to $555 million, and last year it was $514 million, and then profits increased. So all of that to say what we kind of already know, books to TV adaptations are very good for the bottom line. And I think what unfortunately I think is going to happen is that, people will look at, oh, we need more hockey shows. And I think that that's missing like the point. We need more shows that show, non-toxic relationships.
Yes.
Like
diversity
we need more
and
shows
representation.
that show emotional intelligence and feelings. And, like we need more diverse stories. Like that's like, I think what we want. But I worry that we might just go a little bit too 10,000 foot about it and, make some assumptions that aren't necessarily there, and maybe drilling down like why do we all love Heated Rivalry for like I think all of those reasons. I am interested to see Penguin Random House numbers after Every Year After gets released on Prime. Because like that's one of Berkeley's big titles was Every Summer After. Carly Fortune is wildly successful, and I personally love her. I love all of her books. So we essentially started this article with, good news. Yay, we love Heated Rivalry. The people love Heated Rivalry. Good for
numbers
good for
are showing that.
Numbers are
Great
showing
news.
that. And then one of the other things is I would have to drill down about this. I didn't have time, but digital sales they reported were made up like 26% of revenue, which is increased from previous. And I'm wondering if that's because typically ebooks are cheaper than like a paperback. And so I don't know with, current financial situations. I think everybody's feeling the increase of everything. I'm wondering if that maybe has something to do with it. This is just
And is audio
speculating
considered digital?
wildly here? I don't know.
Is audio considered digital?
I don't know.
Because it's definitely
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a very good question.
We ponder as we do. We'll come back more as we are lifelong learners. Just
we
ask
do
the questions.
Exactly. So I'm like, we got this little top part. I was like, okay, great. And then we get to some parts where I was like, have I been out of the loop? Did I not know this? And the answer I think is yes, but I don't know if everybody else knows about some of these things. So that's why I wanted to bring them up. And I didn't realize that News Corp owned HarperCollins. Let me just
I didn't either.
say that. So I was like, okay.
Cool.
And so I did feel like there was a
and for those who may not be familiar, who owns News Corp? Like, why does that give you a little bit of the uncomfies?
It's a Murdoch organization, so they own those things. So
the things
they that shall not be named. It was kind of interesting, and I did really enjoy the way that the author of this article wrote this. And then, so I'm just going to read this from his article. So new CEO Robert Thompson didn't have too much to say about the current quarter, only predicting strong sales for new books. He named Alex Astor, Sarah A. Parker as a couple of them. There were a couple of other that I'm not going to mention. As usual, however, yeah, don't want a platform. As usual, however, Thompson had plenty to say about AI. We are an AI inputs company, and that fact was reflected in our recent deal with Meta, which complements our partnership with OpenAI, he told analysts on a conference call. News Corp is continuing to negotiate AI deals with, quote, companies who recognize the preciousness of our provenance and which should have a positive impact on our revenue and profitability, he added. We also expect to receive our fair share of the proceeds of the $1.5 billion settlement with Anthropic starting later this calendar year, an outcome which asserts the integrity of intellectual property and benefits authors and book publishers. So I feel like there's a lot going on in that direct quote from this article.
Yeah, there is.
So I was like, hold up. I was like, so we sued Anthropic because they used HarperCollins material without consent. But we are also saying that HarperCollins and News Corp at large is a, quote, AI inputs company, which is crazy to think about. So they're basically saying, yeah, if you want to make a deal, like you pay us, we'll let you use all of our stuff and you can feed it to your model, which is essentially this. And then I was kind of looking more around, and from The Guardian, they mentioned that the CEO of News Corp has what they called, and this made me laugh, a woo or sue approach. So basically entering into deals, like I said, with AI companies for a price and then suing companies that do not enter into an agreement with them for access to the material. So I think I understand that from a copyright issue, but I think it's so conditional when we're seeing these copyright disclaimers on some of these books. It's so interesting because in my mind, because I think I'm obviously putting how I feel about AI, specifically generative AI in these spaces, I'm sort of putting my morality onto it. This made it very clear that like that is not what's going on here. So it's not no AI, because later in the article, we find out that they are exploring and testing AI for both translation work as well as the creation of audiobooks. And this is HarperCollins, and the CFO said that. So a little bit bleak, a little bit weird. I didn't realize that this went down in like 2024 with OpenAI. Drew Broussard from Literary Hub, he wrote an article about this in 2024. This article was called HarperCollins is Selling Their Authors' Work to AI Tech. I guess there were some screenshots of an agreement that was sent out to HarperCollins authors and basically saying, hey, we'll pay you like a one-time flat fee of like $2,500 for access to your work to like feed into the model. So there was a small monetary incentive. And from what I understand from this article, you could opt out, which I guess is nice. To me, I'm sort of like, okay, so like, what are we doing? What is our stance? Because then this is also in the tapestry of the industry that has canceled major literary thriller. Obviously, this wasn't HarperCollins, but a major literary thriller was canceled due to AI allegations. Recently, it was alleged that multiple stories from the Commonwealth Prize were at least in part generated by AI. We've had booing of multiple commencement speakers this year with talks of praising AI. I tend to agree with Andrea Bartz when she said that, there's sort of overwhelming public outcry for like, we don't want this. And I think I feel that especially in the creative space. What do you think about all of this?
Yeah, I agree. I went on a roller coaster ride when I read this article, and the exact sentence you read was when I immediately stomach dropped, felt very uncomfy. The line where he says that it'll benefit publishers and authors, with respect, I immediately went, you mean publishers. So besides what you mentioned, way at the end, you get a one-time payment 2 years ago of that $2,500. In my opinion, that's like nothing, right? And I also thought too, it's not a secret that sometimes authors don't make as much money. So some people probably took it, even if they didn't want to get paid. Right. And or I wonder if there was any undertones. I'm sure they didn't say this, but like you have an agreement with your publisher that like if you don't agree, they're not going to give you a next book or something. Like you want to keep that relationship. There's other publishers you can go into. So there's just a lot that goes on, in my opinion, in a negotiation that isn't always on paper for why someone may or may not want to do something. So again, it's going to benefit the publisher for owning that material, training these LLMs to basically, like, I don't think it's a secret. And I don't think this is an uncommon opinion. Like, these models are to get rid of human input, to get rid of the authors. If publishers have their own software that can
human output, I think they want us to continue to be the input, but human output.
But to the point where their LLM is so good that they don't really need to do that much input anymore. And then they do their own output, right? So then like they just put out books that they don't need to pay any human authors because it's their LLM that are doing it and it's selling. Talking about, you and I have talked about this, that we feel like there's certain subsects, and a lot of it is loud, of like AI is coming, like you have to use it. You can't refuse it. I think these are coming from, if you follow the chain of money, big corporations or companies, like you said, have already spent a lot and don't want it to bust. But also it's coming from people that don't feel threatened about their jobs being taken. Because I think we would be naive to think that this is going to create these big LLMs and then they're still going to use human labor and pay human labor. Then why would they be spending all this money? They're thinking long-term projection and how they can produce more, paying less for it to increase their profit margins. And I just think, so you're using that, your input, to then put out your own job, right? Like you're giving them your material to train the LLM that will eventually then write the stories, and they'll be like, we don't need you anymore. I know that's a little bleak, and I'm not saying we're going to get there, but I think that is why a lot of people are very uncomfortable with AI in the art space, is because art is human, right? Like that's what it is. And then, like you said, the illegal copyright infringement of it all. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. Again, I always want to be a fly on the wall of contract negotiations if other traditional authors in the space that have been in here longer, if they're putting more firm clauses in their legal documentation in their book protecting those rights, right? Like before you just assumed copyright was broad and everyone respected it. I think now it's like, do I need to be over explicit and have it be almost half of a page, but then it makes sure it covers it? You cannot put this in any LLM in any format without any permissions. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And I think the thing that bothered me the most was the intention is to cut humans out of the output. Basically, how that is somehow like recognizing the preciousness of the quality product that we have, you know, at this organization. And I'm just like, wow, like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me to think about that. And this is like, some of this is old news, but like, because it went down. It went down in 2024, but this conversation is still being had. And these quotes are from the recent conference call after like, the Q1 report came out. So like, these are all things that are kind of being continuously dredged up. And I do think it is very interesting. And I am super curious as well, Amber, you know, if there are any agents out there that are listening or that see this clip of us potentially talking about this, I would love to know, how is something like this changing what you put into your author's contracts, like as far as like negotiating? And then I'm just curious, are there certain now preferences about like what publishing houses, you know, people would be interested in working with or not? And some of that I would probably imagine is, you know, it's obviously a power imbalance. And I think in general, publishing has a big problem of like, you should just be grateful.
Speaking of that argument, the other part of this article I thought very interesting is we don't know personally, we don't have an agent, and we have not published a book traditionally, but we have friends that have, or we've had conversations with people who have. And I think even on the internet, if you go look in spaces, people will openly talk about this. That, like you talked about the power imbalance, you're being told constantly that, you know, sales aren't what they used to be. We're cutting, there's not editors in-house, marketing basically you have to do. So basically, like you said, be grateful, but now you have to do double times the labor to even make it work. So it's showing that there's less and less money and you're not making money, and that's why you have to be slim. Now look at this Q1 report. What story is it, publisher? Is it that there's not enough money and we're cutting stuff, or are we making record numbers? And if we are making record numbers and you're cutting all this stuff, so it's basically you're having the authors do 3 employees' jobs that 2 are supposed to be in-house at the publisher. And so that's how you're cutting costs? Well, that doesn't feel good. At least for us on the author end. Now, I'm not saying this is the case, but you're telling 2 different stories, right? You're telling the stories to your actual labor, your product, that it's much higher, we're not making money. And the backlist is very interesting too, that like you have to make it within the first week or you won't make it. I think with some of these really great adaptations, like that's not the case. These books didn't just pop their first week, right? Like these authors created these environments, did their own marketing. They have these communities of people that when it goes big, then later there is potential for backlist. Like I know it doesn't happen for everyone, but always saying that like there's going to be no value in your backlist, at least from a traditional publishing standpoint, that it just peters out and is kind of there. It's just very interesting, you know, the story they're telling the authors when we're dividing the work labor and or compensation conversations to what's being told to the C-suite and the investors and now at our earnings calls.
Right. And
it's a little incongruous. So I don't know.
For sure. And I, you know, in effect, when you are as an author, and this is maybe like, this is probably not the most eloquent way to put this, but you know, when you are signed to publish with a traditional publishing house, you're kind of like an independent contractor, right? Like you don't work for that company. You have your own agent, you have your own advocate, and you have signed a contract for X amount of books, you know, perhaps like a right of first refusal or like whatever ultimately is negotiated. But as far as like representation in these conversations about like, what are we willing to take on, you know, financially in exchange, right? Like, so these conversations about, you know, working with AI companies and being an input company apparently now, I seriously doubt that, any authors were present at that level of conversation. I would love to, be told that I was wrong, but I just have a suspicion. And the other thing too
Do they
is like
care?
this.
Why would they? They don't care.
Well, and HarperCollins is one part of this too, right? Because this is a
Yeah.
conglomerate. So
Yeah.
like this is a deal for not just HarperCollins. Like this is for all of their media.
The big machine. The big
essentially.
machine.
This is the whole, like HarperCollins is just one piece of this giant deal. And, that's where things get tricky. So yeah, I would love to know any authors or
Yes.
agents, if you noticed any like changes in contracts or like what you've had to negotiate, what your clients have wanted you to negotiate, has
Conversations you've had behind the scenes, right?
I guess my question is, has, a publishing house's like stance on AI, like how has that affected like negotiations or, someone wanting to work for a different publishing house? And, we always talk a lot about the big five, and they're obviously owned by like, super mega corporations. Does that also make a case for like a smaller press? Just curious. Just curious.
This is some good tea, Allie, and it just
Thank
brings
you.
us more questions and answers, which means
It
it's really
does.
good tea, but also I'm unsatisfied because I always want to know all the answers, hence why we are just lifelong learners. It's like, but I want to know all the things. And I think we'll just have to like keep informed, keep watching what comes out, and then what does feel good, even though it just feels like we're the little guy and we're one person, which is true. But like we get to decide what we consume and how we consume it, right? So there's power in that and what people get to decide. And if everybody decides that they don't want generative AI or they do, like the people get to always decide and think for themselves.
That's right. And I think ultimately it's very clear that a lot has been changing over the last, couple of years, and we're watching it from the bleachers. Like we are not people that are
We're eating
actively
popcorn
involved,
in
in this
our hooded
process. We really,
sweatshirts on a Friday night.
we're watching from the
watching the
sidelines,
football game.
Yeah, we're hoping to like, we're training
Put
to
me in
hopefully
coach.
Yeah, that's right. We're training to hopefully be put in one day. But we're very much watching from the sidelines. And I think that there is like a privilege in that, right? In that we can kind of evaluate and take a look at a lot of different angles. But a lot is changing. A lot is going to continue to change. I'm sure that my opinions about a lot of things right now will evolve. So looking forward to having documentation of that. So
Yes, exactly. All right. That was some good hot tea. Now moving on to our book nook. Are you ready, Allie?
I am ready. Amber, what did you read this week?
I read S'more of You by Tessa Bailey. So s'more, like the campfire s'more. So I thought that was a really cute, like play on the word.
Cute.
And so here's the description, or at least my pose to you before I read the description. Would you like a short, delightful snack of a story that delivers on summer camp vibes, tension, and a deep first love? If you answered yes, this is for you. What do you think, Allie?
Sounds so good.
Sounds so good, right?
I'm in.
Okay, great. So here's the back blurb. In this steamy rivals to lovers short story, a drama-loving camp counselor confronts the crush she's been nursing for years on her gruff, rule-following fellow counselor. Senior counselor Margot Berry is finally going to tell Dean Ingram how she feels. Sure, she's been pranking him for 8 years, and they forged something like a rivalry. But surely that will be able to be set aside when she fesses up to her crush, right? Wrong. Dean assumes her confession is just another prank. Can she convince him she's for real before the camp session ends? Dun, dun, dun. So this was a short story, part of the Amazon Originals. It's called Summer Lovin' Collection. So there are 6 short stories in this one, and they're available on Kindle Unlimited and Amazon. And these are great if you do have Kindle Unlimited, that if you download them through Kindle, you get to listen to the audio for free. So it's like part of their bundle. So that's very economical.
Nice, yeah.
In these times. So I really liked this short story, you guys. Like the history of pranking between the two is really endearing. And then Dean not believing Margot could be really confessing her true feelings, I thought was a fun twist. And with their background could be believable. And then the cute camp activities with the campers like took me back to memories of summer camp. Allie, did you ever go to summer camp as a kid?
I did, yeah.
Same,
oh my gosh.
same.
Camp
So it was only
memories,
like middle school age, and that's what these kids kind of are, like late elementary, middle school. The pacing is a little faster in this. However, With a short story and anthology like this, it kind of needs to be because you have limited real estate to use, right? You have a smaller word count. It's supposed to be a smaller story. But I didn't think it felt unbelievable, like the story and their romance arc, because they have that long history together. And it makes you root for them to finally get together because we're now at the end, right? We get glimpses of the before, but like we're at the pinnacle of all of this coming to a head. They're in their early 20s, so this gives a little feeling of young first love, but I liked that it was the substance of it being real, serious, and lasting. Because sometimes it's not always, it's like first love, puppy love, it doesn't mean anything. Like that can be true for some people, but sometimes it is. It's like the real deal. There is some delicious spice in this too, and it was just the perfect little story to devour in like 1 or 2 sittings. It just meant all the things I wanted it to.
That sounds so good. And you know what? Like sometimes all you need on like, your little summer hot girl walk is like just a quick short story novella.
A palate cleanser. Start to finish. I can just like feel good, little story.
And honestly, like novellas are one of my favorite tricks other than reading a Lorraine Heath book because she is my ultimate slump buster. Okay. But like if I'm just like in a reading slump, just like a quickie little novella that's like just sort of like cotton candy, just all of the fun tropes on tropes on tropes.
And like short, right? Like you can finish the whole thing. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like it's a big investment on time, but still satisfying. Yeah. That's how this felt.
I love it. Yay.
All right, Allie, what are you bringing to Book Nook this week?
All right. Who is your ultimate book boyfriend? And is it Mr. Darcy? Have you wondered how you would... Okay. Let me try this again.
You got so excited when we mentioned Mr. Darcy. Like, I think we went like... I don't know what this is, but it was excitement.
I don't know what's happening.
It's like dodgeball.
The claw was even coming out. Like,
The claws.
The claw. Yes. Oh my God. This is the
Here we go. The claw.
Okay. All right. Enough.
Here we go.
Okay. All right. Who is your ultimate book boyfriend? And is it Mr. Darcy? Have you ever wondered what you would do if Mr. Darcy left Jane Austen's Regency England and face planted onto a London city bus in the present day? If you ever wondered about that, Most Ardently Yours by Freya Sampson is the book for you. This book is actually out July 7th, 2026. I received this book as an e-arc. So thank you to Source Books, Landmark, and NetGalley for this.
Oh my gosh, this sounds so good. The way you preface that, like, was Mr. Darcy ever a book boyfriend? I mean, obviously he is like the OG.
He's the OG book boyfriend.
He's the OG. And then he just drops in my lap on the bus. Yes, please.
Yes, this book was so freaking cute. It like hooked me right from the beginning. The voice was incredible. So Zoe Knight is a struggling romance writer who has sworn off men for good, at least the ones in real life. Once a believer in a happily ever after, she now curbs her loneliness with the help of the best book boyfriends in literature. And fun fact, this is absolutely like a love letter book to the genre because we are dropping book boyfriend names like left and right. Some of like my favorite contemporary romance
Easter
authors.
eggs.
There's Easter eggs. Like it's very much an if you know, you know. Like it's like a warm hug of like you're part of the club, you know?
You're selling me more and more. Like, again, I need to read other books besides the ones you recommend. But you know what? Maybe I'll just read them all too. I'm just going to do the impossible.
I know. And Zoe believes there is no better man than Jane Austen's Mr. Darcy. So when she stumbles into a classic London bookshop and argues with the annoyingly attractive store owner, Nick, who refuses to sell romance novels, and she calls him out for selling what she calls dick lit, which is hilarious.
I love this.
As an aside, she decides to liberate him of a dusty copy of Pride and Prejudice abandoned on the top shelf. But this is no ordinary book. After reading from the pages, Zoe finds herself in a remarkable situation. She has accidentally summoned the Mr. Darcy, into the real world.
Chills.
She's now face to face with the man she's loved forever, and he's everything she's dreamed that he would be. Handsome, check. Brooding, check. Talks like he swallowed a thesaurus, check and check. But even in all of his Regency perfection, can he ever be as good as he is in the novel? And if he's here in her London apartment trying to figure out how to work a shower, what will happen to the literary world that he came from? With Nick, the last man she could ever be prevailed upon to work with, urging her to send the fictional Darcy back into his own story, Zoe will have to decide what she really wants from a happy ending before it's too late. So this book was so cute. It's a little bit like magical realism. Like I said, it's a love letter to the genre and romance itself. I think that I would categorize this book in particular, though, as more of like a genre blend. Like I would say it tips just a little bit more into women's fiction, but it does have a very strong like romance subplot.
Okay.
But I think the main arc of the story is about Zoe's self-discovery, life lesson, finding herself, like in spite of the perfect relationship. And I think that that's a really important thing for her character. Like I said, the opening of this book just like absolutely got me. Like I was
Grabbed you from
delighted.
the get-go.
It was so funny. It was so voicey. There were absolutely twists in the story that I didn't expect. We were at maybe like the 50% mark and a major plot thing was happening, but it was happening way earlier than I expected it to happen. So I was like, well, what are we going to do for the remaining, 55% of the book? And there were some things that I definitely did not see coming, that's always fun when I can be surprised. So Most Ardently Yours is delightful and you should absolutely pick it up. And it is a book that absolutely shows that books really are magic.
You know what it gives me vibes of? Do you remember the movie Kate and Leopold with
Yes,
Meg Ryan and Hugh Jackman, right? Yeah.
Yes. Kate and Leopold, it definitely has that vibe. Or if you're of a younger audience, kind of like Enchanted.
Oh,
where,
yeah. When it come out of the book.
Yep. So kind of like that. Definitely Kate and Leopold vibes. And I will say like this is more of a fade to black as far as spice level. Like there's kissing and romance, but there's not like
cute
explicit details. Really very, very cute book.
Mr. Darcy. Hello. And obviously the brooding bookstore owner, Nick. Say less.
Oh, yeah.
Say
and it's
less.
like, it's just, it's an old Victorian bookshop. Like it's just whimsical. It's magical. It's adorable.
Sounds so lovely. Good book, Nook.
Good book, Nook. Yay. Yay, us.
Now on to the main event. Our craft corner.
Woo.
Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Look at this little baby. Again, she's like
just
not
a little
even half
cutie
an inch.
square.
Little square. Yeah,
Yep.
So fun. So this book, like the previous one, is split up into his 10 chapters or his like 10 rules, and then he breaks them down.
And I would say that this is more of like a good general creativity book. It's not specific writing craft, but writing requires creativity. And so anytime that we can refill the creative well and feel inspired, we are always here for it.
Okay, so the first one, surprisingly or not so surprisingly, is titled Steal Like an Artist. Steal Like an Artist. And he talks like how to look at the world like an artist. Where do you get your ideas? This question that has been said over and over time. And he says, I steal them. You stop worrying about what is good or bad. There is only stuff that is worth stealing and stuff that isn't. So it's very interesting. Right away at the beginning, we get his premise of like, that's what the world is.
Right. And we've all heard this before, but like nothing is original. So like no new ideas. So there's two quotes kind of from the section that I really enjoy. On page 7, he says, what a good artist understands is that nothing comes from nowhere. All creative work builds on what came before. And I'm thinking of Kamala, and it's like, you didn't fall from a coconut tree. Like you live in the context of everything that came before you. Like that's like sort of what hit my brain. Nothing is completely original. And, on the next page, page 8, he says, if we are free from the burden of trying to be completely original, we can stop trying to make something out of nothing and we can embrace influence instead of running away from it. And I think particularly for us and for our genre, tropes, the tropification of romance is a huge thing. Some people love it. Some people don't love it. I'm a trope person. Like I will buy something and read something based on a trope, and we all have our favorites. And what keeps it interesting is taking something that you love and what's your twist on it, right? And that's, I think, what's special. And like, I don't have a child, but like when you are, introducing new foods and stuff, like let's take the familiar, the thing that we know that we like, and then let's like add something to it or change it up a little bit. And I think that that's like a really cool thing. And
that is exactly what feeding a toddler is like.
Yeah.
So you hit it right on the head.
I do know how to give recommendations. I can't speak from like personal experience, but
I really also liked this quote a lot. It resonated with me. I remember when I was first flirting with the idea of writing, right? Like scared to like talk about it, but I was thinking about it and I would have like ideas of a book. And then I would, because I'm a voracious reader, I'd read a book and I'd be like, oh, that's not a good idea anymore because that was in this book. Like there was a version of it. And then like, I don't want to be like stealing from it. And so I think for a long time that paralyzed me from moving forward. I don't know why, but like I obviously got over that hump that like nothing is original, right? Like the book I was reading, there's another book older than it that would have that same scenario and something else. And we're not stealing as in copying verbatim, but like you can make it your own mesh of your own story in your own words, kind of like what you're saying. Like borrow the peas, add the mango.
That's right. Exactly.
Mango and peas.
We like
such a great combo.
We know that we like orange food, so cantaloupe is a yes. Let's add that mango and see how that goes. We like orange.
Yeah. We like orange. We like orange.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, too funny. Next is the genealogy of ideas. I really like this part. He talks about a trick from art school where you draw 2 horizontal perpendicular lines. And then the question is, how many lines are there? And I think the common answer would be 2. You drew 2 lines. But he talks about how there's a negative space in between the 2 lines. That's your 3rd line. And that's how he's talking about this nothing is original. Like you're not stealing from the 2 lines, but without those 2 lines, there would be no third of that negative space. I just really liked that visual and it kind of hit in me to be like, oh, okay, I like this.
No, I agree. He always does, I think, a really good job with, I mean, he is an artist. So these books are always filled with like really good, like pictures
Graphs,
and like visual representation. And like, I always appreciate a little tidbit from a piece of education that I don't have. Like I didn't go to art school. I don't have an MFA in, creative writing. So anytime that I can get like a little free tip, about, well, I guess I did pay for this book, but anytime that I can get a tip,
mostly free compared to like
mostly free. I always am going to love that.
And then another example of this besides his little 2 lines from art school is genetics, right? Like you clearly are half of your parents, but ultimately it doesn't make you an exact carbon copy, right? Your experiences, your decisions, your own personality, you make it your own. You aren't just a clone of your parents. So just kind of like reminders of that, like you can be influenced and nothing is new, but you can make it your own.
Right. And it's tangentially related to genetics in that he talks about climbing your own family tree. But what he's talking about is actually your favorite artists or people that inspire you. So essentially, who are your inspirations? And then climbing up and trying to figure out who are the inspirations of the people that inspire you and kind of continuing to climb like as far as you can go. And helpfully, he's like, don't try to learn everything at once because, we've all been there.
It's
we've
exhausting.
all been
burnout.
It's really exhausting. And you can't read every craft book that's ever existed before you decide to start writing. So can't learn it all at once. But he recommends study your favorite artists and then who are the people that they loved and then study them and then try to figure it out. And then he has a really nice quote about the great thing about dead or remote masters is that they can't refuse you as an apprentice. You can learn whatever you want from them. They left their lesson plans in their work on page 17. And I thought that was like a really sweet sentiment. And
same. I really like that
personally,
one.
I mean, I feel like a lot of us that come to writing in particular, a lot of us are readers first. Mm-hmm. And I know that when I decided that like I wanted to start writing, one, it was a surprise to me. But it was after reading a book that I just like really made me super happy. And I had just been loving so many stories. And I was like, hey, maybe I could try to do this too. And just you have that inspiration of this is a cool idea. Like I haven't read anything that's, features this type of a character or whatever. So I think that made a lot of sense to me from how I wanted to start writing and what inspired me to start writing. What about you?
Yeah, same. I love that little quote because I'm like, yeah, you can reread your favorite author over and over again just for enjoyment. But if you enjoy their characters, pay attention to what they're doing, enjoy how they arc their story. Like the fact that you can have a mentor in their work. It made it very accessible, right? Sometimes it feels impossible and not accessible. And this quote made it feel very like doable for anybody. His next one is school yourself, which just kind of goes hand in hand with Allie was just saying that like you have to be curious about the world and your art and teaching yourself, right? I think we have no problem with this and probably you don't because we always talk about from our very first episode, we're lifelong learners. We like to learn new things.
We
And
are
so
the pleasures that you had in class. Like we are absolutely
we are still here.
We are still here. I think in my school district growing up, their big buzzword for are you exemplary was, were you like a self-directed learner? That was like what we were always trying to like work towards as far as being
And the teacher's like, great, I don't have to do shit with you.
Yeah.
And were you identified as a self-directed learner?
I was, yeah.
You're like, no big deal.
I
No
was.
big deal. I'm going to love this for you. What's our next one?
Okay, next one is save your thefts for later. So he talks about basically like keeping a record of what is inspiring you, or if there is an image or a passage or something that you really like, keeping a either physical or digital copy. He called it, which was so cute, the morgue file, where you keep, quote, dead things that were the inspiration that you will later like reanimate in your work, which I thought like that was just like a really cute way of putting it. And like,
Yes.
I know, I mean, I got a lot of stuff to like, you don't even want to see the screenshots, like
the tabs upon tabs upon tabs that this girl has, you guys. It is impressive.
My photos app, like on my phone, it's a disgrace, but it's
chaos.
It's full of a lot.
Your morgue file. I thought that was cute too, because at first I'm like, morgue file, that sounds bad. Like you want to kill those, but to like reanimate them in your own way. I was like, there it is. There's that twist we love. So that was a big chapter. So he had a lot, but that's obviously the name of the book. So that was all for like the mentality of stealing like an artist. His next number 2 is don't wait until you know who you are to get started. And starts out with make things know thyself. So this is real simple. He's basically going into that. If you don't feel like you know who you are, he believes that it's the act of making your art that helps you actually discover who you are. So don't let that hold you back. Like you need to start, and in the process, you will find out and you will refine what that is. So yeah.
No, I also resonated with this one because I feel like this is what I'm constantly doing. It's like fake it till you make it. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. This is next one. We're like
new advice. Not
advice we live by. Like you gotta try.
You wanted to start a podcast? Sure. Let's do it.
Do you know how to edit videos? I sure don't.
But I'll
do we
figure it
now
out.
though? But Allie,
We
do
do
we
now?
know? We do now. So
Do I
sometimes you just
know?
you gotta be willing to try and struggle. I think that sometimes is the missing piece. This isn't from his book. This is just Amber going on a tangent that struggle is never comfortable. And I always want to be an expert when I start right away, but that's the excitement of Allie and I've talked about. Like we have a vision for something, and obviously our vision is professional because we want to just like be lovely and the best. But we aren't when we first start out at something. You have to be comfortable with being an amateur, and along with that is going to be the struggle. Like you aren't going to probably find your answer on the first try. You might just have to like download the software and struggle a lot and screw up a lot of videos to figure it out, right? That is a skill, or you need to like really dedicate the time to do that. So just know we see you, we feel you. And yeah, the struggle is usually worth it because that's where the magic happens, where you slowly become less and less of an amateur and you're not faking it anymore,
I agree. And truly, I think that like there is really no better way to learn oftentimes, than doing. And that's something like I said, I have to remind myself of that too, because I'm an observer, I'm a collector. If I want to do something, I then try to become an expert as fast as I can in that thing. And I don't think that that's a bad thing, but I think that that's definitely part of my process. But sometimes I have to remind myself of not letting that hold me back, because sometimes the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know.
Yeah. So, and then you become unrealistic expectations to get it all done right away, which there's no timeline. You have your whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
The next part is start copying. And when I read this, I immediately was like, oh, I don't like this. But once he further broke it down, he's talking about that nobody is just born day one with a voice or a style. We all do it by copying each other. Even babies learn how to speak that way, but not plagiarism. Like he pointedly says this, right? Like we aren't going to plagiarize people. And there was a really great quote that I liked from Salvador Dali in this section, that those who do not want to imitate anything produce nothing. So again, it's that need, that want to do it, and then you're going to do it in your own way. And the big thing that stuck with me here in this chapter to make me feel better about the copying is the difference between imitation and emulation. Imitation is about copying, right? And you can do that in the learning phase as long as you're not passing it off as your art, right? Like that's the learning phase. But the emulation is when you're going to take that initiation and you're going to go a step further and you're going to break it through and make it your own thing. So, and then there's a really great chart on page 39 that kind of gives examples of good versus bad theft. So then I felt very comfy by the end of this little section. So if any of you pick up the book and feel the same, you are not alone.
That leaves us with, another like really good piece of advice that I think we've all been told. And
Many times.
Yeah, like this is not new advice, but write the book that you want to read. And I think one thing that I liked about his differentiation here is that we always hear like write what you know, but I think he expands it to write what you like. And
yes.
So like I look at this sort of as write for like, where you want to go. Right? If you try out a different skill, you might not be good at it yet, but if that's what you're hoping to achieve, like practice it, keep trying.
This anecdote is so perfect for this. So there's these cute little books, they're video books on YouTube, and they're just reading real books, right? And Lachlan loves them. And there's one about a girl wanting to be a gymnast, and he starts trying to do it, and like she's clearly doing gymnast moves, and Lachlan immediately thinks he's going to do them. And he starts getting upset and he's like, Mommy, I can't do it. I'm like, honey, she practices a lot. Like, look she did this a lot to be able to do it. And obviously he's 4. So we had to keep saying that. And then he got upset and then felt better. And then eventually I'm like, well, if you keep practicing, maybe one day, but like, forget that. Like, it's the practice, right? You have to take the time to learn it.
Right. Exactly.
Can you see him on my bed, just like trying to grab his leg and stand and just failing over and over and be like, Mommy.
Yeah, I could see him trying to do like, like a scorpion or something like that.
And he was starting when they were just like putting her arms up, and it was very cute, and then like immediately melt down. And I was like, this is right for this stage of life. It's really, really cute, and we're laughing, and then we're in tears. You're welcome for that side anecdote for you to remember. Okay, this one was an interesting one. Use your hands, step away from the screen. And this was written 10 years ago. So I think even 10 years ago, the discussion about needing to use your body. I really like to quote in here, in the digital age, don't forget to use your digits. It's like by Linda Berry. I thought that was really cute and clever.
That was a cute quote, yeah.
And what did you think about this from the scientific perspective? He talks a little bit to like bring your body back into it, because your neurological system isn't just firing one way. It's not just your brain to your body, but it's your body to your brain, and that moving more keeps both synapses flowing to just like help just your health, but also like the creativity. What did you think about his take on that?
No, I think that that's like a good take. There's a lot of, studies that show whether it's like memorization techniques or even neuroplasticity in general, like, physical things that cross the midline, movement, stuff like that, that in general is very helpful. Things that you're doing with both sides of your body. Yeah, I thought that was good advice and a good reminder, to like, what is it? The youth say, go touch grass, like.
Yeah, go touch grass. The youth.
Touch grass.
Be the youth. And then too in here, he talks about, I felt like this resonated with me. It was going to really resonate with you, where he talks about bringing analog tools back, not only to step away from the screen and use his hands, but when there were certain parts of his project where he would be stumped, it felt more like play. And then he was able to be more creative with the analog tools. No, not everyone's going to be able to do this, but he suggests you can even have like a digital desk and an analog desk and view it as like crafts time while you're trying to be creative and think of things. And it's almost like a loop. He talks about like an analog to digital loop. And you know who else this made me think of? Shout out Sarah Holly. We are so excited for your 3rd book. We cannot wait.
Warrior of the Shards.
When we had our podcast interview with her, we could see a little bit of her analog like master. She has tons of Post-it notes, and she just does it on her door, you guys. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be expensive and not accessible, but she just likes the act of that. And then she can like move them around, and it's physical and it's not in a document. So I really liked this, and I think I'm going to try to channel a little bit of Austin and Sarah in this, and maybe like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think I like an idea of like a little bit of a murder board. And I know they have stuff in digital that can do that. But again, I also have been kind of enjoying going back to analog for some things, and maybe the ideas will flow more. So stay tuned for what that looks like and how successful I am.
To get like an eye break from the screens.
Yeah.
We're migraine girlies, so it's just nice to.
And you know what? Craft time is fun. I always enjoy craft time. Craft time is fun. So like I have something to use my fun markers for. So there you
That's
go.
exactly my Mr. Sketch scented fun markers. Yes, back in the day.
Oh my
It back.
God. I immediately could smell the grape one. Like immediately.
So good. This next piece of advice that he offers, I personally felt like was really validating for me as like a person with ADHD who's multi-passionate. Side projects and hobbies are important. And like I am a bitch that loves a side quest. Okay. Like that is like what brings me so much joy. And he advocates for a couple of things. Number one, he calls it productive procrastination. So essentially, he's a big proponent of having like kind of multiple projects going at the same time. And, you know, you're working on one thing, and when you kind of hit the wall or you feel like you need to change something up, have another project that you can work on. And so I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe I just need a couple of drafts going at one time.
I am not kidding you. So for those of you who are listening, I'm going to hold up my book with annotated. And in the very top, can you see? Because it's in highlighter, but it says Allie here. You can barely see it. But I immediately thought of you for this reason. Exactly. Like instead of thinking it as a bad thing, like obviously you don't want to have like 10 works in progress going at once, but maybe that is your process and you always have two. So that way, again, this like productive procrastination, you need a break from this one. You aren't feeling it, hop back into the other one. So then it's just like nothing. I loved it.
Yeah.
I was immediately like, I hope this is going to be the nugget for Allie.
Yes, exactly. He also recommends like being bored, and that being bored is good. And, you know, go on your walk, stare at the wall. That's where creativity starts to happen. And I really feel this. Like when I'm like so busy and my creative brain is very quiet, like because I'm doing all of this other stuff, and boredom allows for creativity. And then he did also recommend to keep all of your passions in life. He says, don't throw any of yourself away, which I thought was like really sweet. Like you don't have to, like you can carve out time to do these projects. Like you can be a complete person. As someone who, you know, used to have their identity really tied to their job, like I felt this like really deeply because I like myself so much more when I'm doing so many other things. And, you know, the fact that like all of your life experience, again, kind of going back to his earlier comments about what you bring to the table from the things that you like and from your inspiration and the quote things that you steal, your own personal element is what brings what you have to the table different and, you know, elevates your art. So, and it's all, he says, it's regenerative. It's like church on page 72. That
I
like
liked
a hobby. Yeah, that like a hobby is...
You may not be producing in that moment, but the act of stepping away and relaxing and doing something else creative just for you regeneratively will then help your work. This also made me think of, I don't know if you've ever heard of like mindful activities. I'm sure you have, but like as a therapeutic tool in your tool belt to do a mindful activity when you're feeling like really anxious to quiet your mind, right? All the busyness. That's what I kind of felt like when he was describing this, that like sometimes those mindful activities help me quiet the mind so then I can have those ideas or quiet everything else down to then focus on brainstorming. And then the activity you're doing is mindful that you're focusing, but it's not like you're trying to, you know, look at 10 different documents and put it together. For me, puzzling, I like to puzzle.
You're a puzzler.
I like a good puzzle next to the fire.
Ooh.
Knitting, you're going to surpass me, but it always used to be a winter activity for me. All I can do is make scarves, but like if I was watching something or just hanging out, like it just feels good to like do something repetitive with your hands that you don't need to focus on. Coloring, adult coloring is a big one. So anyways, so some of those mindful hobbies that you're still doing something, but it's relaxing and could maybe help you. So I was like, oh, I see you, Austin. I like this. All right. Number 6, the secret. Do good work and share it with people. Sounds pretty simple for a secret, doesn't it?
It does.
And I think that's the point. He breaks us into 2 little categories, talks about in the beginning where people are like, but how do I get discovered? He's like, yes, that's important, but enjoy your obscurity while you have it. It's good in the beginning because there's no pressure on you, that you can do what you want. You can experiment. You can do it for the fun of it. There's nothing distracting you to get better because all of your time can just be focused on what you want. So I did enjoy that part a little bit, but I do think 10 years later, there's so much more pressure on building a platform, and like getting the numbers and the results to drive your book sales and or to get a deal. But I still think there is something to be said, like when you and I started, like we weren't really posting on social media a lot. So there is a part of you just have to try it and have fun and be okay to fail. Like you got 2 views. We were there a lot, and it's like, cool. Well, I mean, I'd be excited if 2 people showed up to a meeting I wanted to talk about books. So I just had to like view it as that, and then slowly the numbers get bigger and you figure stuff out. And then that there is no secret formula, that you just have to do the good work and share it with people. And even 10 years ago, he was like, you got to put your stuff on the internet, you guys. Like, even if you're nervous about it and you're scared, that's okay. Everybody starts out that way. But when you open up your process and invite people in, that's when you learn, and that's when you can really get people invested. And the internet can be a safe incubator space. So not just for getting people to buy your work or invest in you, but for you to really find your people to help you brainstorm ideas. I think you and I have found this a lot in our writing group. Like that is completely online. I knew none of you all in real life when we first met. And with the internet, there's so many groups out there, right? Like you don't have to travel somewhere. So you just have to do good work and share it with people. That's the secret, not so secret formula.
I totally agree. And I think the next point, he reinforces that previous statement about the internet. We are so lucky that we can exist in a world where like we can connect with people that have our same interests that we would have not ever crossed paths with previously. Like I don't live in Minnesota. So
no, you don't.
I would have never met any of you guys in Smut U, like if I don't live there. But yeah, there are people from all over that are in our writing groups. It's crazy. Like there's so much that you can do with the internet, but also not to forget that there's probably also like a lot of stuff going on around you too. He does recommend like it's probably important also to leave your house, go out and experience things. That's also going to be enriching for your art as well.
As my therapist told me during COVID, apparently you got to leave your house. Who knew?
Yeah, apparently.
Who frickin' knew?
Who knew?
I thought there was a fun little part in here before we move on that he is like, by the way, if you do move somewhere, he's like, I think bad weather is better for art. Because if you're bad weather, you don't want to go outside and you want to stay inside and work. And I just thought that was really kind of funny, which is probably true for him. Some people are inspired by nature, but then like maybe doing other things. I just thought that he was like, by the way, in my opinion, move somewhere with bad weather. Like I said, no one never.
Yeah, he was like, give yourself at least 6 months of shitty weather, whether that's like on the hot, intolerable spectrum or it's on like, you know, the terrible winter spectrum. Yeah.
I know, it was very interesting. I'm like, real estate agents would love you to sell in the areas they can.
Be like, this is great for your art.
This is so great for your art. You need this. Next chapter is be nice. The world is a small town. Make friends, ignore enemies. I think this is more true today than it was yesterday and 10 years ago. True. The internet is a lovely place. It also can be a very cruel, trolly place. We also know that people buy bots to purposely try to spread hate, to just incite that stuff. So you just need to like set your boundaries, focus on the good parts, ignore the enemies. And I thought this was really a good rule too. He says, important rule to follow and to remember is if you talk about someone on the internet, they will find out. And I think that is very, very true. So just make sure if you're going to talk about somebody, you would be comfortable saying it to their face. Because I think the rule of thumb is to be like, they will somehow hear this.
True. Yes, exactly. I think the other thing he recommends is, and I think this is also a general rule, an old adage that I've heard a lot, is he says stand next to the talent, but essentially you need to get to a different room if you're the smartest person in a room. You know, You should always be surrounding yourself with people who will allow you to level up and improve and grow with, you know, more talent than you, more skills than you.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that is definitely a saying that's been passed around, and I think it's still good advice.
Yeah.
This next part is short and sweet, but it made me giggle. Quit picking fights and go make something. I think at the time he wrote, this is so cute. I think at the time he wrote this, which is in the quote here, Twitter was still alive and well. But this is a funny quote from Austin's wife. Quit picking fights on Twitter and go make something. Just remind yourself that like, don't be picking fights. Don't waste your energy on people who don't deserve it. Even though he goes into further detail and talks about like anger is one of his creative resources, which is interesting. Everybody pulls from different emotions, but he needs to remember to channel it into the work and not be distracted by it by useless Twitter fights. So I thought that was really quite funny and like relatable, you know, like we're all human. And even when we know we aren't supposed to do something, sometimes you get sucked in.
You absolutely. He talks about showing appreciation for, people that inspire you. He gave an example. Again, he's a big proponent of putting work out there, and a really good way to show someone your appreciation or to signal that, they really inspire you is to make a post, talk about their work, link to their content or their website or whatever, because, it doesn't require that other person to do anything, but they can see that someone is appreciating their work. And that is a really nice thing to do, just building community and appreciating inspiration.
Yeah, I like that one too. The next one is validation is for parking. I was like, oh, you're so witty, Austin.
I know, Austin.
And we've talked, I mean, this isn't nothing new either, but I think there's a reason why people always talk about it, because it's such a slippery slope to fall into. But like, you have to find your validation within, and you can't rely on it externally, because otherwise that's just going to be a recipe for disaster. Not everyone is going to understand you. You aren't going to be everyone's cup of tea. Some people will misrepresent you, misunderstand you. And Allie, I thought of Us, where he talks about, there's the quote, like, you need to get comfortable with the idea of being misunderstood, disparaged, or ignored. The trick is to be busy doing the work you care about, and then probably interacting with the people you care about. So going back to the beginning, right? Like, ignore the haters, continue in doing your own thing. We haven't had this too much, but just like anybody who's active on the internet, right? Like, eventually it will come. Like, I've had a couple, I've screenshot to Allie, I'm like, this is a bot trying to incite hate, right? You're like, oh, for sure, this is a bot. Usually when we post about toxic masculinity, in our opinion, that like, maybe men should pick up romance books if they're confused about what people want. And then usually it's always like, I'm like, ooh, we got a bot this time. We're making it.
Yes.
So remember, validation is for parking. You have to really enjoy what you're doing and listen to the voices that matter, and everything else is noise.
Yeah. And I think, for me, like, there are some things that I do because I do like validation and I do want that. But like, I think you have to have insight about that.
I'm laughing. I was on mute, but like, and it's true. I mean,
Yeah, like, I
validation
think
does feel
you just have
good.
to have,
She's
yeah,
a seductive mistress. There's a reason why it's a slippery slope. Like,
she is. So, if that's you, because it's a little bit me, then you need to know that that is something that you do seek. And if you don't get that validation, like, you can't let it ruin your day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
you go to the person in your life that does know and trust. Like, you will call me and I would be like, this is crappy, but you are still a great person.
yeah,
Listen to the good people.
I loved this one because I thought it was a good way to end. We're putting our stuff on the internet and what can sometimes happen, but essentially keeping a place for good reviews, nice comments, people that see you and appreciate you, because it is so easy to focus on the negative. You get like 50 comments or 50 reviews that are like 10 out of 10 amazing, we love it, and then you get one or two bad reviews, and like, all you think about is those bad reviews, and don't. So I think that it's a lot easier said than done, but I think that
just
like
don't
really
do it.
nice.
Done. Allie has the
I think
secret. Don't.
I think it's really nice to just have a place where you can look at the positive feedback that you've received.
Yep. I like that. Next one, which is kind of funny. Be boring. It's the only way to get work done. He talks about taking care of yourself. And from his perspective, he actually leads a pretty mundane life. He works a 9 to 5 at this time of the book. Who knows what he does now? He might be full-time writing, but he has a wife, he has a dog, he's kind of in the suburbs. That old view of that partying, eccentric artist lifestyle, that's just outdated, and that just wouldn't be sustainable. You would have to be superhuman and, or, as he quotes, want to die young. And I really liked this quote. The thing is, it takes a lot of energy to be creative. You don't have that energy if you waste it on other stuff. And that just really resonated with me, being someone who's doing a lot and doing different things, and a lot of it is self-imposed, but it's things I want to do. That, like, yeah, it takes a lot of energy. That is your valuable, for me at least, energy and time is my valuable resources right now. So I want to be very strategic in where I'm spending them.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of spending and being strategic, I'm going to kind of lump his next two together. Because I think they're both like really financially based, which is, he's like, do not go into debt for the sake of your art. And also don't think that you constantly need to be buying like the newest tool, the newest thing to be able to produce your art, because that's simply not true. And he does also recommend, kind of what Amber said, keeping a day job. And this also reminds me of the advice that Elizabeth Gilbert gives in Big Magic, which I haven't read her new book, but I really like Big Magic. I usually reread it every year, but she says that she doesn't like to make her creativity pay the bills. That's obviously different now, but she kept her job as a professor, like after Eat, Pray, Love, for like years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is always something to consider, because I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, that I think a lot of times the dream is like, oh, I want to write full time. And, I love writing, but I also love doing other things. And I have a job that I like and that I'm good at. And that gives me a lot of security. So
And financial freedom to do
financial
things.
freedom, so that I'm not having to worry about depending on my creativity. And that is obviously a thing of privilege. I understand that. But I think it is a good reminder that publishing also doesn't pay very well, and the schedule is whack. Like it is like you're seeing somebody get a three, like they're like, oh, in a 6-figure deal. They're not getting those 6 figures. They're getting that like in, 23 installments over the next, 5 years or something like that.
I agree. I also think too that it's becoming more and more common, whether, like you said, it's harder to be financially independent on only being published for writing full time. I'm sure that's part of it. But there's a lot of people that are very successful that still have their day jobs because they want the financial security, or they just really enjoy their job. And he talks about still having a 9 to 5 gets you out and in the world with different people to then give you different ideas.
Inspiration.
It gives you inspiration. It keeps you on a schedule. Like, yes, your 9 to 5 or whatever job you do will steal your time, but then it'll make your other time more scheduled. And maybe you have to set aside dedicated creativity time. Like, you can still do it. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And it obviously resonated with us because that's what we're doing right now. And who knows what we'll be doing in 10 years from now. But as of for now, we're busy bitches. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right. The last one in the section we want to talk about was, I want to have a conversation with you about this, is Marry Well. I had feelings about this. It's a very short, it's like a page, but there's one quote in here at the very end. Lots of times you have to be a maid, a cook, a motivational speaker, a mother, and an editor all at once. And this is on page 133. Do you think he's talking about his wife or a hypothetical female writer?
I don't know. I was also wondering about that. And I have some thoughts about that, and equitable division of labor.
Yes.
Off the top of my
so
head,
this kind of gave me vibes. We won't name names. You probably know what they are, but there are like 3 or 4 self-help books that were really popular for a while. And they're starting to get some criticism because they're by male authors. And they talk about basically you just need to get up at 4 a.m. and then grind and then go do your 9 to 5 and then grind some more. And you just need to really stick to a schedule. And it's the only reason you're able to do that is because you have a wife and or partner behind the scenes that's doing everything else. It's allowing you to spend all of your energy and your time basically doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I agree, marrying well, you should just do in general because it makes your life happier, and your partner should want to encourage your creative pursuits. But hopefully it's equitable, right? It's not just the partner is doing the maid service, this being the editor and everything else. What are you providing besides just your 9 to 5 and being a writer, right?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure if that's what he meant. It's ambiguous. It could be technically talking about a female author having to do a lot of things and or his wife. But this one piece I don't necessarily think aged well. It just rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. So I didn't know if you felt that when reading it. It's ambiguous, so I'm not sure.
I did. And interestingly, when I was reading this, I'm also listening to a podcast essentially about girl bossification of things, and on the Diabolical Lies podcast. And essentially Katie was talking about, like you said, a lot of these self-help books are written by men. You can do all these things because you spend 2 hours with your kids at night.
If that.
If that, and the assumption that you're able to get up at 4 to work out and drink your bulletproof coffee and do whatever the fuck you're going to do. Who's taking care of the bills, the family, all of those things.
Kids.
There's a big assumption here. And there's a book called Fair Play. There is a documentary on Netflix, I believe also with the same name, Fair Play. And then another great book, if you also are interested, is I believe it's called Who Cooked Adam Smith's Dinner, which is talking about, the quote father of like modern capitalism. He lived with his mom. Spoiler alert.
Oh my gosh.
So, like invisible labor and stuff like that.
Of course he lived with his mom. Boo frickin' hiss.
Yeah. So
I'm tired, Allie. I'm tired.
I know. So I also felt like a little bit about Merrywell. I wasn't really sure what he was trying to say. I think that in general, the 10,000 foot sentiment of you should have a partner in your life that supports your goals, that, respects your art, that respects your happiness and helps to fill in the gaps while you're doing things. I can appreciate that, but I don't know. It just seemed a little pointed as far as who should be doing labor. And if it was talking about a woman writer, then it was like, why is she doing all that stuff too? She's the writer. Like she's the one that's doing, like she's got work to do. So that I felt a little bit mid about that. So anyway.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last one.
Number 10, his final principle of Steal Like an Artist is that creativity is subtraction. You get to leave out what you want to leave out, and he only wants you to focus on what's important, and therefore you can do anything.
Yeah. That's basically it, you guys. So obviously some of the rules are a lot longer than others. And then he ends it, which is kind of cute. It's just like a 1-page list on 143 that he ends it with like, what now? And these is what he's telling you to do now that you finish the book. Take a walk. Start your swipe left file. I thought that was a cute nod to like, I'm sure dating apps were, all the like beginning to be all the rage 10 years ago. So like making your morgue file. Go to the library, buy a notebook and use it. I giggled with that because it was like bold and use it.
Call me out for thinking
I know. I was like,
I can't problems and then I abandon them.
I know. I was like, I can't just buy the pretty journal and let it sit there. And then get yourself a calendar and a logbook. He talked about that previously. It's just organization, you can imagine. Give a copy of this book away. Obviously, he wants you to promote it. Start a blog. And then most importantly, take a nap, which you know what? We all deserve.
We do.
So Allie, after going through this little nookie, thoughts?
And make sure that you are, equally contributing to the labor of the household. I would say number 10.
Yeah, number 10. Don't be a tool.
Don't be a tool. Yeah, exactly.
What did you think? No, I asked you first.
What did you think?
What did you think?
What did you think?
So interestingly enough, I liked them in different ways. So I really enjoyed this. I think there's a few quotes and examples and images that are really going to stick out for me for general creativity more in this one that I think are going to be tricks in my tool belt that I'm really going to like. But there was more, I think, in this one, and he says in both books, like, advice is what it is. Take what works for you, leave stuff that doesn't. There was definitely some stuff in here that I was like, I don't know if it's for me, where the other one felt a little more applicable, and maybe it's just because of the work we're doing now with writing and podcasting. But I found both, it wasn't a waste of our time at all. Like, there were nuggets in both.
No, I agree. At least for the advice that I need, I think show your work. I liked a little bit better. I feel like I took a little bit more of like this works for me. And I think that's maybe because being on the internet still scares the shit out of me, and like putting yourself out there is still like very vulnerable and scary. So it's a little bit more handholdy like about that. But I think for general creativity, and I think that this is good. And I think my favorite piece of advice, probably the two pieces of advice were, like you can be multi-passionate. You can do a bunch of things at once, and just kind of that, like, no new ideas. Like, I think that's always a really good thing to remind yourself of, that you get to put your own spin on things. And that's what people ultimately come back for, is they want to know the world through your eyes.
I think the two for me will be the productive procrastination. I think when we worked on those short stories, like we worked on the anthology for Ice, that really got me creative in a new way. And I produced a little story that was even published and super exciting. That doesn't mean I'm not going back to my other longer novel that I'm working on. So maybe implementing more of that. And then I've already started to through you, but like leaning into analog a little more. I think that'll also help me too in my limited time frame. Like I can't just come downstairs and sit down a lot, but if Lachlan and I are taking a break watching a Bluey episode, I can just like pull out a notebook and doodle a few ideas or something, So
yeah, exactly. it's good to have like a little catch-all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was a fun one, you guys.
Yay!
Thanks for sticking with us. Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And then now on to our happy endings. Allie, do you want me to go first?
Please. Yeah, I don't have one
Okay,
again.
great. I'll go with my happy ending. As you guys know, I'm still cloud nine. Patrick is back.
Yay.
I talked about this earlier, that Patrick's dream is always to have a camper. And we did it, you guys. We got the cutest. It's called a wolf pup. She can pull behind
So
our
cute.
SUV. So she's not big, but she is small and she is adorable. And Lachlan is so excited about this camper. He calls it my camper. And there's little bunk beds in the back. So one will be for the dog, and then Lachlan will have his own little bunk. And we're going camping for the first time this weekend. So it's a lot of prep this week for us and getting ready. We're not going too far, just in case. And also we have a 4-year-old. But still, we're very lucky. Minnesota has like so many lovely state parks, all within really close range of us. So I will report back. But if any of you are camping people and you have any like products that you really like or you thought like saved the day that you won't go camping without, let me know in the comments, because we are brand new. We've camped a lot before, but we are brand new to the having a camper family.
Having your own setup, yeah.
Just like pull behind, baby, off the ground.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Congratulations. I know
you.
that was like a big goal. So yay, you have achieved it. And that's wonderful.
We did it.
Yay, we did it.
Allie, what's your happy ending this week, darling? Tell me.
Well, it took me a long time to think about this.
You guys don't get to see the behind the scenes of her going,
I think it was probably like a good, several minutes of, me just
maybe we'll do some outtakes for you.
Sitting in silence, being like, no.
And I'm trying to hold your hand. So what do you got for us?
Okay, so in town, there was a new bookstore that opened. It's just like a chain bookstore, but that was exciting because I haven't been to like a chain bookstore in a little while. And it was really interesting to see what was like, trending in person versus what's trending online. And this bookstore definitely was there for the book talk girlies, gender neutral. There was a huge romance section. There was a whole table of special editions.
Sprayed edges
for days. 4 days. They had really cute integrated merch with the books. And I thought that was really fun. I was like, okay, the whole front quarter of the store is what we're interested in, which was kind of cool.
It's almost like romance outsells a lot of other genres potentially. And they're starting to catch on that maybe we should have more and merch and things. It's wild.
Say
wild.
Yeah, I will say the hard part was that like, you guys know, like I'm a book trophy person. So I love book trophies and I love to like share books with my friends and all that stuff. So it was really hard actually going to the store because there were a couple of special editions of some books that I really wanted. But because we're moving, I'm like, you do not need 3 more hardbacks to fit into a bookshelf that's already too full to then
lug.
Yeah, to then move it. I'm like, that's going to be like a very expensive book because you're gonna have to pay to move it. I bought a gift for my dad, but I didn't for Father's Day, but I didn't buy anything for me, which was sad. But the exciting part was that there's so much that I want to buy, and yeah, so it was fun. I got to go into an in-person bookstore, and I was pleased. Our section was large, so that made me happy.
That is so awesome. I love that for you. And I also think it shows how busy you are. We'll talk off screen in the group chat. I have an idea of what probably big chain this was. And the fact that you're surprised, I'm like, oh yeah, she hasn't stepped foot in one in a hot minute. Because
it was Books A Million.
Oh, no, that's not the one. I thought you were going to say Barnes & Noble.
It wasn't Barnes & Noble, no.
I've never been in a Books A Million.
I think it's been probably 15 years, like maybe
longer. Are they more of an East Coast chain, or there's just not as many of them?
I don't think there's as many of them. I think Books A Million, I want to say they went bankrupt and then were bought again. I'm not 100% sure. But I think that might be the situation. Again, I'm not fact checking and I'm speculating wildly, but like vibes are that they closed and then they reopened. I don't know if that's true.
It's definitely different.
Yeah. But where I grew up, we had like a lot of Barnes and Noble. So that's like where I always went. And then I grew up where there's like a very famous independent bookstore, Anderson bookstore. So that was like in my town. So
you were very spoiled.
So we had Barnes and Noble, which was multiple levels in our downtown. And then there was Anderson. So that was where I went. I didn't need to go anywhere else. So
nope. And then you moved away and you were like, what is this mundane stuff? You guys only have one level bookstores?
Yeah,
you peasants.
Exactly. So
you peasants.
I know I would ride my bike down to like the bookstore and then like Jamba Juice. So if that doesn't tell you like if that isn't so like 2003, I don't know what is.
We would have been the best of friends. It would have been like now and then summertime vibes.
Absolutely.
It would have been so great.
I know. And then we can like, curse people later,
I know. What is this? We need music, seance, bikes, bicycles.
Jamba Juice, all the things.
Work. Before we get too off tangent, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Smut and Sensibility. Allie, where are we?
Everywhere. You guys know it. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're also on Amazon, iHeartRadio, Audible, all the places. Smut and Sensibility Podcast. We are also on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Smut and Sensibility Pod. We also have our Blue Sky link down below, as well as our newsletter. And we typically send out a newsletter. And as I'm thinking of this, I didn't write a newsletter this month, but like eventually. But,
it's coming.
It's coming. So we'd love to stay in touch, like outside of the algorithm, so we can keep you updated on extra fun stuff like recipes, books that don't make it on the podcast that we're reading and loving, stuff that we're watching, things that we're learning, or like pop culture-y, zeitgeisty stuff, which is really fun. And then hopefully keep in touch for some of the like larger plans that we have, like eventually for the podcast. So yeah, thank you guys so much. We would love to know in the comments below, like, what do you think about our tea time? Like, what do you think about
liking it?
How publishing is changing? What do you think? Like, do you like the segment? Let us know. We've only just started doing it. Do you care? Is there anything that you want us to talk about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know. And also let us know what is one of your favorite tips for creativity or writing. Either one could be specific or not. What's a really good piece of creative advice that someone gave you? We'd love to know. And Amber, do you want to sign us off?
I do. As always, everyone, go in pursuit of your happily ever after. And most importantly, stay smutty. Bye, guys.
Bye.